Hey guys, welcome to Brian's Garage. Here's an update on putting on the shoulders for a GM A body. It's 1968-72. This here happens to be a 68 442 convertible Oldsmobile. I'm using a seam sealer. It's just SEM urethane seam sealer, nothing fancy. It'll last a very long time, probably as long as the original. Alright, we're getting ready to put this passenger side shoulder back on. We've got all the repairs done underneath there. You can see that lower piece there is custom. These things tend to fill up with dirt from about here down to here. You can see I've left this open on the bottom of that, so hopefully that will keep that from filling up with dirt again in the future and causing this piece to rot, because you know, that's no fun taking that out. And, this lower portion of the firewall, I recreated that piece right there, which is actually more of a trick than you'd think. There's some curves to it. You're definitely going to have to split this and cut a little bit out, because you're going to have to, everything's got to twist and move, and this here's got cuts in it going up here, so yeah. This piping, make sure you got that in place. What this does is it's what allows the fresh air from your cowl into your car. See that? There's your fresh air, and that comes from those holes in your cowl that you normally have plastic screens over, and down that tube right there in your cowl, and then you got a vacuum diaphragm that opens that guy up. And be sure you put this thing in before you weld that shoulder on. It's got a dowel right up there. I don't know if you'd be able to get all that back together otherwise, right? So anyway, that's how that works, and that's what's different about this versus like an aftermarket vintage air system. Because the aftermarkets, they don't have the ability to bring in that outside air to dehumidify or whatever needs to happen on the inside, right? And normally your AC coil is sitting right there, and it's transferring air between those two doors right there, those holes in the firewall. I'm using, I wanted to tell you, I'm using this ER70S-2 weld wire. You know, most of that stuff you get is -6. Don't use that, okay? Because it doesn't weld well over or rust or a little bit of paint. You know, it just pops on you, and you don't want to use that -6 at all. Use this stuff for everything on a car body, okay? Trust me, it's good. And this just happens to be, looks like it's 23,000, so I usually use 23, 25, somewhere in there. With this shoulder, you know, I told you that you're going to have to hammer weld everything, because these are not very straight when you get them, right? And also, you know, trim them back and get them mostly shaped up before you start welding on them. I held them all in place with screws, because this overlaps. For whatever reason, GM has this overlapping the top panel, which is just the opposite of how shingles would work, right? But GM does weird shit sometimes. Anyway, you got to draw this and this together. So this one here gets a big hole, the one on the bottom gets a smaller hole, and then you use one of these self-tapping screws to draw those together all the way. And then hammer weld it. You start on one corner and just hammer weld it, so that, you know, when you weld that little bit right there, it heats up the metal around it, and metal flows. It's just real easy to shape metal when it's, you know, a couple hundred degrees. It becomes a lot more pliable, and so you can just tap it with your, just like that. You put in another weld, and then tap everything down. Maybe draw down some screws. Draw it down. Tap, tap, tap. And that's how you do it. That's about the only way you can do it. And I'll take all these screws out later, and then finish up those holes, just like these holes here are going to go away. But you can see when you hammer weld, you see how tight that seam is all the way across. So it all comes out very nice. And when you use that ER70S-2, and you don't even have to grind your welds, these are all going to be just fine. We'll just leave them just like that. They'll be just fine. I ran out, obviously, right there, but we're doing a hammer weld all the way down, and there's that was a little bit proud, and yeah, And that came out real nice. Yeah, so hammer wheel. Oh yeah, make sure you got one of these helmets. You got to have one of these helmets. These things are great. I don't know how I ever survived without one of these before. You can't see what you're doing. You can't make a good weld. And these allow you to do that. And you can adjust the shade real time. I mean, it's like if it's too dark, you just dial it back a few shades and you're good to go, man. It's great. Hey, the trim on this one here really sucked as it came from, I don't know, Taiwan or wherever it came from, but you can see the trim is pretty bad. And the reason why is, turn that sideways. See how far off it is down there? I could only get my plug holes to about there before they ran off the end of this guy, right? That's how bad the trim was on that. So I'm just gonna weld the edges, because you can't put more, well, I could put more metal on, but I'm not gonna do it for this. That'd be ridiculous. But that was trimmed funny from the factory. It was also trimmed funny up here. You can see how short that is. Anyway, aftermarket parts, they suck. Just gotta get them as close as you can and make them work. Alright guys, that's all I got. We'll talk to you later.